But legally, this case has also taken a pretty serious turn because Nick has hired none other than Allan Jackson as his defense attorney. He is one of the most high profile criminal defense lawyers that's out there. You probably know him from the Karen Reed case. He also, who did he most recently defend? It was somebody, I think, in either Malibu or Santa Monica who ran over a child, I believe it was. I can't remember the exact details, but this is definitely not somebody who is new to nationally watched cases. Allan Jackson knows his he knows how to be in front of a jury, in front of a courtroom, in front of the public, and he already, at the first arraignment, was out there speaking to the public. In that speech, he urged the public and the media not to rush to judgment, saying that this case involves, quote, very complex and serious issues. He also declined to answer questions, and he hasn't commented on Nick's guilt or innocence.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I just have a couple of quick words. First of all, and most importantly, this is a devastating tragedy that has befallen the Reiner family. We all recognize that. Our hearts go out to the entire Reiner family. There are very, very complex and serious issues that are associated with this case. Those need to be thoroughly but very carefully dealt with and examined and looked at and analyzed. We ask that during this process you allow the system to move forward in the way that it was designed to move forward, not with a rush to judgment, not with jumping to conclusions, but with restraint and with dignity and with the respect that this system and this process deserves and that the family deserves.
My thought with that, with him saying don't rush to judgment, complex issues, serious issues, I wonder if they are going to argue an insanity defense, something regarding the mental health. I would imagine that they would, 100%. But what do I know? I'm not a defense attorney. Now, really quickly, while we're talking about the possible insanity plea and all of that, I know we already talked about the Christmas party, right? And that they were at Conan O'Brien's Christmas party earlier that evening, that allegedly an altercation happened, that there was some weird behavior. Well, now actually several news outlets are publishing claims from different unnamed sources about that argument between Nick and his dad Rob, saying that it became loud enough that guests had considered calling 911, but that Conan O'Brien reportedly discouraged anybody from calling 911 because, it's his house. He didn't want police at the event. This was just his friend and his son. They were having a disagreement, but they were leaving, trying to just diffuse the situation, which I want to be clear, major outlets have not independently confirmed that police were actually prevented from being called. It's more of these independent news agencies. In fact, one party attendee even told one of these news outlets that there was no blowout fight that was seen by them at all, and that Conan himself also said he didn't witness a shouting match between Rob and Nick, but I wanted to bring it up in any event because there are different news outlets reporting this, which, if that's true, I would imagine that that is something that Conan would be struggling with quite a bit, not that he should at all feel any responsibility or guilt or that this could have been prevented because he could have intercepted this. Obviously, this was just a horrific, horrific tragedy. But if it is true that people were going to call 911 on Nick because of his behavior and that he discouraged them, being like, it's my friend, they're leaving, don't worry about it, I can certainly understand that he would be, riddled with guilt over that, especially every single Christmas or Christmas party to come, just this constant reminder, right? Now, about Nick's state of mind during the time of the murders, multiple sources at this moment in time, literally right now, are now reporting that he had in fact been diagnosed with schizophrenia and that this was prior to the murders. They also say that a recent change in his psychiatric medication may have actually made his behavior significantly more erratic in the weeks leading up to this horrific tragedy. Specifically, I believe it was his medication got changed 3 weeks before this double murder that he allegedly committed, which this is all breaking right now as we're recording, so I'll keep you posted as we learn more. But I think that goes back to what I said a few minutes ago. I definitely think that Allan Jackson's plan is to go for the insanity plea, although they haven't announced it, but I imagine at arraignment we will hear something to that effect on the 7th.